What if everything you thought you knew about yourself, about your existence, about the very nature of reality, was the most elaborate and grandiose of cosmic masquerades? What if the identity you so zealously defend, which defines you in this ephemeral earthly dream, was nothing more than the temporary disguise for a truth far more sublime, unfathomable, and profoundly yours? Today, I invite you to cross the threshold of the known, to cast off the chains of the ordinary, and to look beyond the veil of worldly perception that has been carefully woven around you. Prepare yourself, because what you are about to hear is not a simple philosophical theory, nor just another esoteric teaching. It is a revelation, a fragment of those forbidden texts that few have dared to decipher, a key to unraveling the deepest of mysteries, the identity of your own divinity. This journey is not designed for the lukewarm of spirit, nor for those content with bifurcated answers. It is for the brave, for those who yearn for gnosis, who intuit that behind appearances lies unlimited power, a creative force that resides, latent and omnipotent, in every fiber of their being. Understanding the truth we will reveal today will not only fundamentally alter your perception of the esoteric universe and your place within it, but will catapult you toward a state of spiritual enlightenment, where internal alchemy becomes the only path to mastery. This knowledge, as rare as it is transformative, is not mere data to be stored. It is a master key destined to unlock inner portals, to transmute reality at will, and to finally recognize yourself as the divine architect of your own cosmos. Over the next few moments, we will explore how the entire universe bends to your inner commands, how your innermost thoughts and deepest feelings are not mere reactions, but the very clay from which you sculpt existence. We will reveal how external reality, with all its complexities and appearances of solidity, is nothing more than a polished mirror that reflects, without distortion, your prevailing state of consciousness. A glimpse of divine mechanics, an echo of truths whispered in forgotten temples and in the silence of the stars, awaits to be heard, to be felt by those with ears to hear and a heart willing to resonate with the truth dot, to ensure you don't miss any of these profound revelations, to join us every step of the way in this ritual of knowledge, and to be part of this growing community of truth seekers who dare to look beyond. I invite you to like this video, leave your comments and reflections, and of course, subscribe to the channel. Your participation is the first conscious act on this journey toward awakening your innate power. Since time immemorial, veils of illusion have hidden the most sublime truth. What we call imagination is not a mental faculty, but the divine spark, the creative breath of the Absolute manifesting through you. It is the cosmic workshop where realities are forged, the ethereal loom where the threads of being and non-being intertwine under your will. You are not a mere spectator. You are the painter, the sculptor, the supreme architect who, with each image held in your inner eye, molds the primordial clay of the universe, manifesting the invisible into the visible. The Hermeticists and Gnostics, in their forbidden codices, whispered this secret. The external world is a densification of the internal realm, a psychic canvas where every mental image and sustained emotion becomes an indelible trace of destiny. Ancient liturgies and rituals were not empty acts, but choreographies to channel this imaginative energy. The often misinterpreted sacrifice alluded to the transmutation of limiting states of consciousness, the abandonment of the separate self to embrace the inherent divinity, your true origin. When ancient scrolls, from the Apocrypha to the Kybalion, sayings proclaim the principle of correspondence, as above, so below, as within, so without, they reveal a universal law. Your universe is the exact vibrational resonance of your predominant imaginative state. Consider Moloch as analyzed by Scott Alexander or Allen Ginsberg. Moloch may not be a flesh-hungry deity, but the embodiment of belief systems and fears that demand the sacrifice of our imaginative freedom and faith in the divine self in exchange for the illusion of security and external control. It's time to look at your life not as an immutable destiny, but as the crystallization of your imaginative habits. What dreams did you sacrifice on the altar of the real? What limiting beliefs did you nurture, giving them life in your world? Inner alchemy will transmute imaginative blindness into divine vision, doubt into unwavering faith. Dare to embrace the feeling of fulfilled desire now, before external evidence, because that feeling, that internal vibration, is the invisible mold that precedes every manifestation of your power. This knowledge is not for the faint-hearted, but for those who claim their divine heritage. It is the master key to understanding why some build empires for nothing and others lament. Imagination is the silent engine of your existence, the place where your will merges with the Creator's to weave reality. But how do you sustain that? Vision? How do you maintain that certainty in a world of illusions? The answer lies in consciousness itself, in the next step of our ritual. Are you ready to delve into the realm of consciousness and reveal how it becomes the canvas and brush of your divine power? Consciousness, brothers, is not a mere passive observer. It is the alchemical workshop where reality takes shape. Every thought, every emotion we allow to dwell in our inner sanctuary is a brushstroke on the canvas of our existence. We reveal here a fundamental truth. We create our reality in every moment. There is no pause in this divine act. The distinction lies in whether that creation is deliberate and conscious, or an unconscious dance orchestrated by the echoes of our fears, the shadows of our worries, and inherited beliefs. This act of unconscious creation is the true modern. Moloch, not an external deity, but the amalgamation of our anxieties and collective narrative of limitation. Isn't it a daily sacrifice to allow fears and resentments to dictate the script of our lives? These subconscious patterns act as potent rituals, manifesting circumstances that validate our internal narrative of lack. It is a failure of cosmic coordination, where unlimited creative power is hijacked by old ego programming, projecting a reactive world. The universe reflects the predominant state of our imagination and feeling, whether desired or feared. Throughout the eons, true initiates of the mysteries or hermetic adepts understood this truth. The Kybalion proclaims that all is mind. The universe is mental. Modern control systems emulating Moloch thrive precisely because they distract us from this introspection. They push us to seek external solutions, to consume, to react to imposed agendas, perpetuating an unconsciousness that serves them. They have taught us to believe in a fixed and unchanging reality, stripping us of the understanding that it is the echo of our own collective psyche, manifesting without discernment. Inner alchemy is an existential necessity. Become the archaeologist of your own psyche. What are those recurring fears and worries? Each one is a brick in the prison of your unconscious creation. By illuminating them with the lamp of consciousness, you don't annihilate them, but rather transmute them. You take the lead of reactive inertia and turn it into the gold of conscious intention. Stop being a mirror that only reflects the exterior. Become the source of light that defines what is reflected. The crucial question is, what internal narrative are you projecting without your consent, and what could you deliberately construct? This knowledge is an invocation of your sovereign power. It is the secret that allows you to transform from puppet to master of the cosmic stage. It begins with inner vigilance, with discernment of your predominant states. The key is not brute force, of will, but subtlety of conviction. Conscious creation is not an act of effort, but of assumption. Feeling the truth of your desire fulfilled here and now, before the outside world provides proof. It is this feeling, this precursory internal vibration, that sculpts the raw material of existence. How do we reach that state so compelling that the universe must obey? Therein lies the next step in our ascension, the forging of manifestation. The law of the spiritual harvest is not merely a concept, but the intrinsic mechanics of creation itself, the primal root of all manifestation. It is the resonant echo of archaic truths, encoded in the myths and rituals of lost civilizations, whispered by shamans and priests who understood the inescapable cycle. What you sow in the secret garden of your consciousness will sprout in the Yao, fertile soil of your reality. There is no exception to this law. It operates with the relentless precision of the cosmos. Every thought you cultivate, every emotion you nurture, every assumption you embrace becomes a planted seed, waiting for the opportune moment to germinate and bear fruit. It is the guiding principle that dissolves the illusion of chance, revealing a universe of internal causality, where the architect of your destiny is not an external force, but the silent authority of your own imagination and feeling not observe. How this principle is woven into the tapestry of existence. The ancient Egyptians, in their sowing and harvesting rituals on the banks of the Nile, not only celebrated physical abundance, but invoked the fertility of the spirit, understanding that the internal preparation of the soul was as crucial as that of the soil. The myths of Persephone, abducted to the underworld, and whose return marked blossoming, are veiled metaphors for how internal states, the winters of doubt, and the summers of faith dictate the outer landscape of our lives. If you find yourself trapped in repetitive patterns, consider that you are reaping the fruits of a seed sown long ago, perhaps unconsciously. The secret lies not in fighting the harvest, but in identifying the original seed. What deep conviction, what ingrained belief, or unspoken assumption has nourished the soil of your reality until it shapes it today? This is the trail you must follow, the imprint of your creative divinity. Throughout history, elites and those at the top of power systems have understood, perhaps in a veiled or distorted way, the power of collective sowing. Consider the metaphor of Moloch, that ancient deity to whom sacrifices were offered. Beyond the literal meaning of the dark ritual, we can see in it a profound archetype, the sacrifice of our highest potential, our most authentic dreams on the Ngonde, altar of external expectations, fear, or the need for social approval. When we relinquish our own inner truth, when we accept a limiting narrative imposed by the collective or by our own inertia, we are sowing the seeds of servitude of a harvest, of limitations and frustrations. Modern ritual is not so different. We are asked to sacrifice the sovereignty of our imagination for the sake of the efficiency of a system that prefers us to be cogs, not creators. True power, divine control, lies in refusing that sacrifice, in cultivating an awareness of our own sowing. This truth invites you to a deep introspection, to a radical inner alchemy. Are you deliberately sowing or allowing the weeds of fear and doubt to take control of the garden of your consciousness? The law of the harvest does not discriminate between good and bad. It simply reflects what it has been given. If you sow worry, you will reap reasons to worry. If you sow the assumption of your greatness and fulfillment, reality will bend to confirm it. Stop blaming the external weather, the foreign soil, and turn your gaze to your own act of sowing. This is not a condemnation, but a liberation. It grants you the key to transform your destiny, not by the force of battle, but by the grace of conscious sowing. Every moment is an opportunity to plant a new seed, to change the course of your future harvest. It is the supreme act of responsibility and empowerment, the recognition that you are the gardeners of your universe. This is the revelation that the ancient mystics jealously guarded. The universe is not a foreign place, but a flawless mirror of your most predominant inner state. The spiritual harvest is the visible manifestation of your invisible assumptions. Those who mastered this law sought not to change the external world, but the internal world, knowing that the former would. Always obey the latter. This knowledge resonates with cosmic energy, a truth so fundamental that, once understood, it dissolves layers of illusion. But how do you sow it with the conviction necessary for the seed to germinate infallibly? How do you reach that state of unshakable faith where the assumption feels so real that manifestation is inevitable? The answer lies in deep immersion in the art of ... Assuming the fulfilled wish ... masters. The most veiled truth is that the cosmos you perceive is not alien, but the tangible expression of your inner being. Every face, every event, every circumstance is your projected self, a visible echo of your predominant state of consciousness. Nothing exists outside that was not first within. The universe reflects back to you with relentless fidelity what you hold to be true in its deepest recesses. You are not passive observers of a drama, but writers and directors whose inner beliefs dictate the plot. Your assumptions are the architectural blueprints of your manifested reality. This teaching is not modern, but rather a pillar of archaic civilizations, distorted under ritual veils. Remember Moloch, the archetype that demanded sacrifices? Esoterically, Moloch is the collective belief system, the mental structures that incite us to sacrifice our divinity, our power of creation, by convincing us to be external victims. The world becomes an altar where we offer our autonomy. It is a fallacy of mass coordination, an illusion where everyone assumes that the exterior is immutable, without perceiving that it is the solidified sum of individual projections. An ancient key to dismantling self-imposed prisons. The Hermetic and Gnostic texts, deciphered by a few initiates, spoke of a demiurge, not as a malevolent creator, but as the collective consciousness itself, which, believing itself to be separate, constructs a world of limitations. Neville Goddard expressed it: the world is your assumption pushed outward. This is not a metaphor, but divine mechanics. Consider the ancient shamans who, to heal or attract rain, did not manipulate the exterior, but rather changed their consciousness, assuming the healing or abundance already achieved. Reality responded to this internal conviction. For them, the world was malleable clay in the hands of the incarnated spirit, obeying the inner truth. This truth demands profound inner alchemy. Do you dare to look at the world and recognize in every imperfection, every challenge, a fragment of your projected shadow? Or in every blessing, the manifestation of your light and faith? It is an invitation to the most radical responsibility, to be the sole creators of your experience. When you understand that no one can do anything to you without your acceptance, conscious or unconscious, grievance dissolves. The other is nothing more than an actor playing the role your consciousness assigns to it, a mirror that reflects your own beliefs. To stop fighting the reflection and instead change the image of the one who holds it is the path to mastery and freedom. It is the transmutation of the lead of victimhood into the gold of conscious creation. This knowledge, guarded in secret chambers of perennial wisdom, is the key to unlocking your unlimited potential. It is not mere philosophy, but a divine methodology for co-creating your reality. You will feel the cosmic energy vibrate as you assimilate that you are not separate, vulnerable entities, but extensions of the creative source with inherent power to shape existence. The world, far from being a battlefield, reveals itself as an infinite canvas for your divine imagination. But to wield this power and manifest the sublime, it is imperative to understand not only that the world is a reflection, but also where the energy that drives that projection emanates from, the primordial spark that ignites reality. What is that immeasurable force within you, that essence that makes you architects of all that is visible? It is time to reveal the nature of your divine power. Children of wisdom, the essence of conscious creation lies in what we call the practical method, assuming the fulfilled desire. It is not a mere childish fantasy, nor a vain longing. It is the supreme alchemy, the internal rite by which consciousness immerses itself deliberately and sustainably in the reality of an already fulfilled desire. It involves mentally and emotionally dwelling in that final state, not as a future hope, but as a present and inescapable truth. It is living from the end, not toward it. This technique does not seek to convince an external God, but to activate your intrinsic divinity, chiseling a new truth in the marble of your psyche until the form manifests in the visible world. It is the secret that the ancients knew. The kingdom of heaven is within you, and it is taken by assumption. How is this total immersion achieved? This sacrifice of the present self on the altar of the desired self? It is an act of radical faith and a discipline of feeling. It is like the ritual of the ancient mysteries, where the initiate not only observed the deity, but also fused with it, assuming its identity and power. In the same way, you must shed the garments of your current reality, complaint, lack, limitation, and clothe yourself in the immaculate garments of your fulfilled desire. Every thought, every emotion, every visualization must be an offering to this new state, a stepping stone on the path that leads from your present consciousness to the awareness of your already achieved goal. The system of your mind, like an intricate neural network, must be reprogrammed by the insistence of this new archetype. This method, revealed in fragments by masters such as Neville Goddard, is not a modern invention, but a re-emergence of forbidden wisdom. In Hermetic texts and esoteric parables, there is allusion to the idea of being before having, of embodying the desired reality. Mystics of all ages understood that the act of feeling as if was the true lever of creation. By assuming the fulfilled desire, we are not asking the universe, but declaring to the universe our new truth. Subjective reality, your inner world, is the only point of departure. And the external world, that faithful mirror, has no choice but to reflect the glorious image that your consciousness holds and with which it fully identifies. The temptation is to wait for external evidence before believing, to seek confirmation in the visible world. But this is the path of perpetual procrastination. The true art of assumption requires you to reverse the process. Feel the fullness of desire now. Live in the gratitude of its fulfillment, and allow that inner vibration to radiate. The sacrifice here is that of your limited logic, your adherence to current facts. It is an alchemy of the soul, transmuting dissatisfaction into joy, lack into abundance, dream into palpable reality, all through the firm purpose of your consciousness and the resonance of your faith. This inner transformation is the crucible where the invisible becomes flesh. This knowledge, guarded in the silence of the ages, is not for a select few, but for all who dare to claim their divine inheritance. It is rare only because few dare to believe in their own power of assumption, preferring the comfort of linear causality. But the cosmos dances to the rhythm of your assumption. Physical manifestation is the inevitable echo of your internal state. It is the unquestionable certainty that you already possess it that paints your experience on the canvas of life. For this manifestation to be perfect, for your assumption to be invincible, it is crucial to understand the nature and function of an essential component, the vital spark that ignites this creative flame. We refer to the enigmatic power of feeling, that internal vibration that colors the fabric of our existence. But who wields the brush, molds the form? Here we reveal a primordial truth, whispered in hidden sanctuaries, encoded in ancient mysteries. Visualize a potter, his expert hands dancing on the wheel, giving life to the amorphous clay. This potter, I assure you, is none other than your imagination, that divine crucible where all that is and will be takes shape. The malleable clay, the raw material of its constant art, is you, your self-concept and perception of the world. Your imagination not only perceives, it builds, needs, and transmutes endlessly. It is the silent engine of manifested creation. The potter's secret lies in the persistence of his intention, in the firmness with which his hands apply pressure, molding the clay into the desired form. Thus, your imagination operates through the constancy of internal visions and the intensity of sustained feelings. Every thought, every mental image, every state assumed with conviction is an imprint that the potter imprints on the clay of your subjective reality. Hermetic texts refer to this process as the great inner work, a ritual where the mind's eye becomes the divine chisel. It is the dance between the invisible and the visible, where your inner will is the only law, and the external world, a passive reflection. This liberating truth has been deliberately obscured. Why? Because the knowledge of being the potter disempowers systems that seek control, elites who benefit from your self-perception as clay moldable by external forces. Ancestral sacrificial rites, such as those attributed to Moloch, are nothing more than archetypal metaphors for the sacrifice of your imaginative power for the sake of obedience to those who dictate your being. This wisdom was hidden behind veils of allegory. Today, it is diluted in noise, in the failure of coordination that prevents you from seeing your divinity, training you to believe that you are the object, not the subject, of creation. Now, the crucial question: are you the individualized consciousness, wielding the wheel with mastery, or are you allowing external programming, social expectations, and collective fears to shape your clay without conscious consent? Herein lies true alchemy, transmuting the perception of passive victimhood into the divine architect of destiny. This process demands radical introspection, relentless scrutiny of the states you inhabit, the stories you tell yourself. It is a sublime act of faith, a surrender to the belief in your inherent power, not as a concept, but as a felt, lived, embodied truth. Awakening to this is rewriting your own personal how. This knowledge, which seems esoteric, is the most accessible, for it resides at the core of your being, pulsing with cosmic energy. The distinction between potter and clay is a conceptual illusion. In truth, the potter is the clay, and the clay is the manifestation of the potter. Both are inseparable aspects of a divine oneness. Recognizing imagination as the potter is the vital first step in claiming your inheritance. But to understand the extent of this power, to transcend the duality of creator and created, we must delve deeper into the source of all shaping, into the origin of the potter and the clay. We refer to the immutable and omnipotent nature of consciousness itself. Now, to unravel the mechanics of how consciousness, in its pure divine essence, orchestrates manifestation, we must turn our gaze to a narrative as ancient as it is subversive. The story of Jacob and Esau. It is not merely a tale of fraternal deception drawn from the biblical annals. It is, at its deepest layer, an arcane parable, a coded map of reality substitution. This sacred metaphor reveals to us the alchemy by which a vividly assumed state of mind, a persistent imagination, Jacob, can and indeed must supplant and replace present objective reality, the Esau of your current circumstances. Herein lies the forbidden knowledge, that what is perceived by the senses is no more immutable than the shadow cast by a thought. Esau, the firstborn, represents palpable reality, the world of undeniable facts presented to your five senses, the result of the past and the inertia of what has already been created. He is the established order, the truth accepted by the community, the Moloch of your limiting expectations to which, often unconsciously, sacrifices of aspirations and dreams are rendered. But Jacob, the youngest, the cunning one, the one born clinging to his brother's heel, represents your disciplined imagination, your fervent desire, and the audacity to assume a state not yet visible. Jacob is the archetype of consciousness that, through unwavering faith in what it desires to be, dares to claim a birthright that according to the visible order, does not belong to it. It is the internal ritual of assumption, a deliberate failure of coordination with the logic of the external world. The blind, elderly patriarch Isaac in this mystical drama is none other than your higher consciousness, the all-sanctioning and all-blessing I Am. The blessing it bestows, that omnipotent creative power, is intended for the firstborn, for the state of reality that appears most strongly and evident to the senses. But Jacob, in sheep's clothing and with the ingenuity of his mother Rebekah, divine intuition, appears before Isaac, assuming the identity of Esau. Although Isaac's earthly senses are deceived by his son's hairy skin and scent, his voice, the internal resonance, tells him that something is wrong. However, in the end, the supreme consciousness blesses what he assumes to be. The blessing, once bestowed, cannot be withdrawn. This is the highest dogma. The creative power of the I Am responds irrevocably to the assumption. Reflect deeply on this. How many times have you allowed your Esau, your limitations, your past failures, the opinions of others, the dominant system, to claim the blessing of your consciousness, simply because it was the firstborn, the obvious state of your reality? It is time to awaken the Jacob within you, to recognize the power of that imagination to supplant the old. This is not a teaching to play God, but to recognize that you are God in disguise, and that your power to reconfigure reality is not a fantasy, but universal law. It is the alchemy of the soul, a transmutation that demands the courage to deceive your own senses and the world, not with malice, but with the holy conviction that your imagination is the only operative truth. This profound truth, hidden in veils of allegory, is not exclusive to forgotten sacred texts. It is the very essence of your ability to manifest. It is knowledge that elites and system architects have understood and used, often for their own benefit, to control the collective narrative. But for the sincere seeker, this is a liberating revelation, a fragment of cosmic energy that resonates with the promise of absolute sovereignty over your existence. It is not a mere trick. It is the primary mechanism through which the universe responds. The story of Jacob and Esau does not teach you to be dishonest, but to be true to your inner vision, to your I Am, which is the source of all blessing, understanding. This substitution is not an end, but rather the prelude to mastery. Because once Jacob has received the blessing, what next? How does that imagined state sustain itself in the face of the onslaught of external reality that still cries Esau? The key lies in the persistence of the feeling, in the embodiment of the fulfilled desire, until the imagined seed fully germinates in the fertile soil of your manifestation. It is here that the act of embracing the fulfilled desire transcends the mere mental act and becomes the vital pulse of your new being. The act of holding on to that imagined blessing, that certainty of a destiny already fulfilled, leads us to the most disturbing and liberating revelation, the true nature of what you call problems. Your collective blindness has conditioned you to perceive poverty, illness, and lack as external, immutable evils, forces beyond your control. But I tell you, with the solemnity of one who has lifted the veil, every difficulty in your life is but the holographic projection of an internal state of consciousness, a dissonant melody resonating from your being. They are not fixed conditions of the universe. They are shadows dancing in the cavern of your perception. Consider the plagues of poverty, illness, and lack. They are not divine fates or cosmic errors. They are, in their rawest essence, tangible manifestations of internal states of limitation, fear, unworthiness, and a tacit acceptance of scarcity. They function as an inexorable mirror that reflects back to you the image of your most deeply held and unconscious beliefs about yourself and the malleable reality. If the outside world is a garden, its fruits are the direct result of the seeds sown in the fertile soil of your mind. watered by emotion and belief. Human history is plagued with problems that, at their root, are failures of consciousness. Moloch, not a deity, but a dark metaphor for collective mental systems and structures, demands sacrifices, the renunciation of freedom, health, and abundance for the sake of an illusory order. Societies, in their short-sightedness, have externalized fears and guilt, constructing invisible prisons of poverty, illness, and conflict. These are the palpable reflection of a collective consciousness resigned to powerlessness, assuming such states are inevitable, rather than malleable creations to be rewritten. The alchemy of your being does not combat external problems. True transmutation is internal. The solution lies in the radical redefinition of your state of consciousness. If poverty is an assumed state, you must assume with unwavering conviction the state of already fulfilled abundance. If illness is a state, you must embody perfect health in your imagination until it becomes flesh. This is not positive thinking. It is a deep conviction, a vivid embodiment of the fulfilled desire that nullifies the problem at its root. The outside world is a projection screen where the only creative actors are you and your fixed ideas. This teaching is the cornerstone of your inherent sovereignty. You are not victims of circumstances, but the silent architects of your experience. Problems do not define you. Your conscious assumption, your choice of state of being, sculpts your destiny. Understanding that difficulties are mere states of consciousness is the first step toward transcending them, toward dismantling the illusion of their power. But how do you sustain this new state, this new subjective reality, in the face of the onslaught of the senses and the inertia of the past, clamoring for the old story? The answer, like all things divine, lies in a simple and profound principle that governs your inner universe. The answer lies in the unwavering persistence of your assumption. Faith, not as blind belief, but as the inner certainty of an already accomplished fact, is the ether that sustains your desired reality. The universe does not resist you. It simply reflects, with relentless fidelity, the image you hold in your innermost sanctuary. Every breath, every conscious thought is an opportunity to recalibrate your awareness, to reaffirm that you are not the subjugated actor in someone else's play, but the playwright yourself, the unseen director of your personal cosmos. The veil that separates you from your limitless divinity is merely the shadow cast by your own limiting assumptions, an illusion woven by the memory of what you were, not of what you are in essence. Primordial consciousness, the unknowable creator, experiencing itself through the form you, in your infinite wisdom, have chosen to embody. You are the anchor of your own being, the inexhaustible source of all manifestation. Abandon the chimera of external struggle. The true battle, the only one that matters, is fought and won in the immaculate realm of your imagination. Recognize this power and observe how the external world, that mutable mirage, bends to your will. Liberation from the chains of Moloch lies not in defying external altars, but in refusing to feed the sacrifice of your own divine essence. Faced with the immeasurable revelation of your inherent deity and your power to sculpt reality, what illusory barrier do you dare to tear down first? And what world do you dare to daydream into manifestation? If these words have resonated in your spirit, if the truth has ignited a spark in your deepest being, I urge you to share this message. Become beacons of light in a world still crying out to awaken. Subscribe to this path of knowledge. Join our brotherhood of seekers and walk with us through the hidden realms of wisdom. Your every interaction, every like, every comment is a vital affirmation that the collective awakening is underway. That knowledge is not a treasure to be jealously guarded, but a current to be expanded. For those who yearn to delve even deeper into the mysteries of conscious manifestation and inner alchemy, a new portal of understanding awaits. Click on the video now appearing on your screen or explore the link in the description. Mastering Feeling, the master key to divine creation. There we will reveal how emotion, that primordial force that often drags you down, can become the precise alchemical engine that transforms your deepest assumptions into tangible and perfect manifestation. Your journey toward divine mastery, my dear creators, has only just begun. The universe awaits your next instruction.